And we're live again. So, listen, sorry about this. I'm having a nightmare with tech, but hopefully this is going to work. I was trying it on YouTube and the technology just failed me ridiculously. So, I'm now going to go live on here and hopefully this is going to work a little bit better. Okay, so I'm just going to talk for a while and hope some people turn up because obviously this is not the link that I publicized, for God's sake. It's just, oh man. Haven't got time for this techie nonsense, but yeah. Anyway, what I'll do in a second, I'll just wait and see if we can get a few people in, and then I am going to firstly answer that question that I got from a reader or a viewer yesterday, and then I am going to. And then I am going to get into your questions as well. So apologies for this. It would be great if you could stick your questions into the chat. Sorry, I'm just doing something there. It would be great if you could stick your questions into the chat, and then we will get to them a little bit further down the line. Okay, we've got a few people coming in now. Again, apologies, guys. Sorry about that before. Technical nightmare. I will get this stuff sorted out. I promise you. I just wanted to try it direct on YouTube because I had the idea that if you stream directly to YouTube, that in theory, you should get more traction. It should get pushed out more because using a third party, because now I'm using StreamYard, which is what I normally use, what we use for Rule Zero and everything, which is an external piece of software. I'd often wondered whether they kind of throttle you a little bit because they would prefer you just to be going directly through YouTube. So I tried it on the YouTube internal studio, and then the sound goes for some reason. I don't know why, but obviously because I'm now in the middle of the broadcast, I couldn't really stop to fiddle around with it. So yeah, let's continue on StreamYard as we normally do. Better the devil you know, and all of that good stuff. So listen, first thing to say, thanks for bearing with me. Thanks for coming over. I very much appreciate it. Hopefully we'll get some more people in a little bit later on. Yeah, thanks for coming over. First thing to say is that Charisma and Dating Academy, my course about to utilize charisma in order to become an apex male in the dating marketplace, that course goes live tomorrow. Okay, so literally in a few hours' time. But what I'm doing as a special surprise for you guys who've borne with me during these technical difficulties, and you're now watching the stream, and anyone who comes along later is going to join the stream. You can join the course, Charisma and Dating Academy, with a 25% discount. Okay, now I'm going to stick the link for that in the chat. Okay, and this link is going to be available throughout this show, and then it's going to be around for a little bit longer, and then it's going to disappear. Okay, so basically, you need to sign up during the show to Charisma and Dating Academy, and you will get that very nice, tasty discounts. All right, so you get 25% off the cost of the course, and you can see the link that's just gone into the chat there. Yeah, so look, first off, what I wanted to do was to get into a question that was sent to me by Mr. Modern Viking. I'll just wait for a second, see if we get a couple more people in though before that, because I just want to check something on my other screen. In the meantime, anybody who has any questions, I see we've got one rather cheeky question already. Anybody who's got any questions, please put them into the chat and we will get to them ASAP. I'm just deleting the other video because that was not very good. And now I'm going to put into the description, I'm going to put the link that you can use in order to get the course at a 25% discount. Okay. And then it will be on with the show. Just bear with me, guys. Here we go. Brilliant. Okay, cool. All right, sorry, guys. I'm really being annoying. So, Bo, yes, Bo's just got a question. So thank you for that. And Bo, I did see your email earlier, and I was going to reply to you basically later this evening because, yes, the discount is 25%. It would be the same as the VIP group. I'm extending it to people who turn up for the show today, but I'm only keeping the coupon active for the duration of the show and a little bit afterwards. So it's really like just a special surprise for people who've tuned in today. So yes, absolutely. If you would like to join the course, obviously I very much hope that you do, then that discount code is the code that you want to use. Now I stuck it now in the description for this. I will also just grab it again and I'll put it in the chat because I think what I put in the chat last time is right. Okay. Yeah, the code is basically live stream offer. Okay. So as I say, if you use that code now during the course, you get early access to the course and you also get 25% off. Okay. And you only get that until the end of this video, and perhaps a little bit beyond that, unless you're a member of my community or on my email list. Okay. So let's get into it. Right. Sorry about this. You've got a few people on now, so thank you very much for bearing with me. Okay. So I have had, and we have a special guest. This is another surprise for you guys. I've got a special guest in the wings. Shall I bring him in right now? Shall I? Yes, I think I will. And it's Mr. Ryan Stone. How are you?
Troy, that's doing great. How's you doing, brother? What's it like over there?
Mate, not too bad. Welcome to the party.
Yeah. All right. Yeah, getting a little caught up now. I tried to wear my best Magnum PI shirt for the occasion, and now you're here in a plain white.
Mate, I've let the side down today. To be honest, I've been really busy this week, so my sort of like sartorial elegance and sort of wearing of fancy shirts has really taken a back seat. I've just been keeping it sort of pretty simple and, keeping it real. But you look very festive, so that's good.
Yeah, what the hey? I figure COVID's going to take away my summer. I'm at least going to pretend to have it back.
Exactly. So listen, what we were going to do during the stream, I was saying to the guys that CAD Academy is launching tomorrow. So I put a special discount code into the chat and they can get it early at a 25% discount, which is very nice. And hopefully people will take advantage of that. But aside from that, absolutely, because it is a world-class offer. But aside from that, I was just going to go through questions in the chat. And to kick things off, there's a question that somebody sent me on Instagram yesterday. So maybe you can give us your input on this. It's quite a good one, actually. It's a guy called Modern Viking. And I'll read this again. He said, "Hey, Troy, I'm going to miss tonight's stream. And I had a question I wanted to ask you. Perhaps you'd be able to answer. I would have asked, what would you have told your late 20s, early 30s self in regards to dating / life? I sometimes feel over the hill, so to speak, with friends, getting married, having kids, and I feel completely bored at that prospect, and I'm simply the next in line. I suppose I'm asking, what would a model Troy Francis life look like at 30? Well, I mean, a model Troy Francis life, I think, is something that I'm sure we all aspire to. But especially all the trads on Twitter. But it's an interesting question, isn't it? I mean, there's a couple of elements. There's a few elements to this, really. I mean, I suppose it's got that sort of, in a nutshell, the old "what would you tell your younger self" kind of thing, which is an interesting question. But I think he's also, the implication of this is also that he's seeing his friends going down the sort of conventional path. They're getting married, they're having kids, and he kind of feels over the hill, presumably because he's not doing that. But at the same time, he also kind of doesn't want to do that as well. So, I mean, the thing is for me, right, as much as, you know, I lurk around on Twitter and everything, I don't want to be too prescriptive about this stuff. I mean, I don't want to say to guys, you know, don't get married, don't have a family, don't do any of that stuff. Because
be like
kind
me,
of
it worked for me.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, it's kind of up to you. So you have to decide what you want, don't you? But at the same time, would you have any pearls of wisdom for a dude who's just feeling out of step with his contemporaries?
I have so much wisdom for this guy. My 30th birthday, I'll tell you a story. I've never told this story on Twitter, on YouTube, on Reddit, anywhere. Other than the people who know me personally, they've never heard this story. It's an embarrassing story. It makes me sound ridiculous. So at the time, I was working in the what they call base information services. It's like the hub of the West Coast, blah, 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 super important stuff. I told my boss, my birthday's coming up. I'm turning 30. And through the grapevine, my friends have let me know that they're probably going to get me loaded. Now, I was working 2 12-hour shifts back to back. So 6 to 6. And then I had 6 in the evening. I had to be back at work at 6 in the morning. He's like, look, I don't care. I don't care if you're doing anything. It's like Sunday. It's very quiet. As long as you're here, that's all that matters. I'm like, all right, fine. You've been warned. So I go to this birthday, and my buddy tapes a thing of vodka to my hand. I start getting drunk. We start reminiscing. I black out about an hour in there because I was on an ECA stack. Remember, like a veteran when that was the biggest thing?
Yes.
Or I guess you're kind of thin. You probably don't know about it. But yeah, it was like a weight loss thing. It's like, hey, if we make his heart pump 8 times faster than normal, he should lose an extra ½ pound this week. We're like, sweet, give me 8 of them. Yeah. Anyways, I ended up crying. I almost took out a China hutch. One of my buddy's wives still won't talk to me. Like years later, she still won't give me even the time of day. So made a big ass out of myself. I ended up getting home. My girl drove me home. God bless her. I ended up having to do a barrel roll out of the car because I almost threw up. And then I went to work at 6 the next morning. And I wasn't even hungover yet. I was still drunk. And I threw up a bunch in the bathroom. And it was so bad that one of my bosses thought somebody was smoking in there. Because I like just smelled like ash as it came out. Now, to answer his question about what do I wish I would tell my guy in my 20s about 30s, my guy in my 20s was really concerned about turning 30. I'm over the hill. I'm getting older.
Yeah.
And once I sobered up, I realized it's really no different. 29 to 31 is 0 difference. And I still, to this day, never had any difference. Now, I'm not telling him what to do, but I am saying from my perspective, it didn't make a lick of difference to me. Like it was just another year. And the only difference now is I don't really care when my birthday is. Like once you're past 30, there's nothing else to check other than, I'm not dead yet. Thank God. As far as the friends thing, that's weird. That's like a status herd insecurity thing. And I think that's very, very evil. Like I want to do what everybody else is doing because that's predictable. And even if like his friends are most likely, he's still young. So they're going to get in the married phase. Wait for another 5-6 years when he starts seeing his friends go through their first divorces. That's going to be fun times because now all of a sudden you're the best friend in the world again. I don't know. You're older than me. You should have seen this at least once, maybe even twice by now.
Well, I've certainly seen a lot of guys, who settled down and got married, and yes, and sadly, some of those relationships have finished, and there's divorces and there's kids, between households and all of that kind of stuff. So yeah, you see, unfortunately, you see it a lot. It's just the way of things, isn't it? Really, but I think you're right in terms of what you feel like before you turn 30 as opposed to what it's actually like, because I was just about to start this is the second stream. I was on an abortive stream before and I put it onto StreamYard because something went wrong. But I was explaining before that I was around 27, 28 and it was my birthday and I went out into Manchester where I was at the time with a friend of mine. And I remember we got chatting to a girl and we're trying to chat up these girls or whatever. And the girl said, well, how old are you? And my mate said, oh, it's 27 or 28, whatever it was. And the girl looked at me in disbelief because I always looked kind of young for my age. So I probably looked a bit younger than that. This girl was probably in her early 20s. She was like, whoa, you're really old, man. And and it wasn't with disinterest. She was just taken aback. She was like, because she kind of thought that we were lying, that I was as old as 27.
Right.
And simultaneously, she sort of didn't believe it because she thought I looked younger. And I was kind of really embarrassed. And I was like, oh God, this is, like I've only got a couple of years left and then this is the end and blah, blah, blah. And you really do think that when you're coming up to 30, or I certainly did anyway. I thought 30, it's the end of everything. I'm not going to be able to go out. I'm not going to meet girls anymore. It's just going to, I'm kind of Gonna have
Matlock reruns and in bed by 6. Like, we're done.
Exactly. And of course, history turned out to be very different to that. And actually, you know, my 30s were without a doubt the best years of my life as far as game and dating and stuff were concerned. I mean, there's no question.
Let's hope, right?
Exactly. Well, yeah, exactly. I mean, the 40s are going to be even better, man. But when we take it as the average across the decade, but yeah, I mean, you know, so turning 30 in itself it's a great time to be a guy, and it's also, frankly, a great time not to be tied down as a guy, unless that's a choice you've made and that's really what you want to do.
Well, I think you hit the key on that. It's the what do you want? Like, I bet you anything. What's this guy's name? Viking? I'm just going to call him Vic. I'm going to call him Vic for short. Vic, I don't think he knows what he wants. I really don't. I think if you offered him a magic wand, a genie, rub it 3 times, not down there, and you say, all right, here's your wish. You can have whatever you want for the next decade of your life. And I don't think he'd have an answer, which is probably why he's looking to his friends for guidance. And all his friends are like, I don't know. This girl touched my dick and I married her. So why don't you try that out? See if it works. It's true love, I swear, for this decade.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, in terms of the model Troy Francis life, if there is such a thing, I guess parties. Exactly. Yeah, bondage parties, latex, maybe some whipping, dropping candle wax on each other, just all of that stuff. Definitely get involved. But I'm nothing like that anymore. I'm more like in bed with a cup of hot chocolate by 11 o'clock these days, Ryan.
Okay, fair enough.
Well, let's wait until COVID's out of the way, I suppose. But I suppose the advice would be, don't feel that you have to settle down yet, because even if you do want to eventually get married and have a family and everything, 30 is still pretty young. So I think you've still got a good few years when you can still go out and have fun and sort of think about it. I would say at least until you're 35. I wouldn't worry about it. And don't worry about what the other people are doing. Just congratulate them, wish them well, turn up to the weddings, whatever, you know, and just live your own life, you know, and just push back on questions or any awkward sort of questions that they try to ask you.
Yeah, well, I mean, it's not even so much resist. Just don't worry about having everything figured out and having some ending to your life story. Like, you're writing it right now. You got, like you said, tons of time. I didn't even get my very first girlfriend, and I'm still with her now. We didn't even get together until I was like 29. So at that time, it was just like, wow, dating a girl for longer than 30 days was at 30. At this point, having him think like that, it just seems premature. And I get it. He doesn't know what he wants. So if you don't know what you want, just focus on what you don't want. It's very easy. I even learned that from when I was doing corporate. I'm sure you've had the same thing. Like, I had to pick up the slack as a project manager for some of the things because we didn't have any extras. And I would ask people for their input on projects, and everybody just kind of was like, oh, I don't know, just put something together and whatever. Nobody knew what they wanted. So what I did, me being a project manager, didn't know projects or management, I come at them with a plan. I'm like, all right, so we're doing this right here. All of a sudden, crystal clear clarity. Everybody knew exactly what they didn't want. No, we don't want this, or this. I'm like, perfect. That's what I asked the first time. So I found it's awesome. Yeah, awesome for life. Just what don't I want? And then I just picked that. For me, I didn't want to be in the military. So I left the military. After a while in corporate, I was like, I don't want these horrible commutes. So I didn't do that. And then the path of what was left let me know, okay, this is like the best, least worst option. I don't know why he couldn't do that.
Yeah, no, sure. That's really good advice. I mean, just out of interest, do you think that is a strategy or a method that guys can use to make decisions throughout their lives, even as they get older? Or do you think there comes a point when I suppose your options start to change a bit as you get older, don't you? You know, I mean, you're not going to be,
Well, let's put it this way. I'm 40 now. I'm playing Minecraft on Twitch and doing well. So I don't know if our options really do close down. And Factorio and Mega Man 2, but it's just like a backdrop to talk about things. But I don't think our options do close down. Yeah, you're not going to be a professional athlete, but most of us weren't going to be a professional athlete at 22 anyway. So really, most guys have a very small subset of options that you have available if you want them. And there really is no barriers in the way of them anymore. Like, you're writing, how many books have you written altogether? 10 books?
I've lost count. There's 11 books in the Renegade Dating Blueprint collection. and then there's another 2 volumes in Renegade Dating Domination, which is basically all of these sort of articles and essays and things. So really, you're talking about
easily a baker's dozen, easily.
Yeah, exactly.
And on top of that, you got the bondage parties, you got the dating thing, you have like all kinds of stuff under your belt. Me, same thing, between military time, graphic design, corporate, IT security, project managers, entrepreneur. Yes. I don't know what to call this, brand influencer, or whatever nonsense we're doing now.
Yes.
Honestly, if this guy looks back every 2-3 years and he's like, if that guy 3 years ago knew what I was doing today, he'd call you a liar. Because I would have never believed it if somebody told me that. Oh, he's going to be on Mega Man 2 on Monday morning. I'd be like, shut up.
Well, I suppose our trajectory, has been quite unusual in a way, because we are both gentlemen of a certain vintage, and I'm of a even more extreme vintage than you are. But we've thrust ourselves and penetrated the world of social media at an age when, I suppose, because I mean, a lot of people who do this.
That's some verbs you got there. I got to tell you right now.
I guess stereotypically you would associate this with sort of younger guys, wouldn't you? Although I think there's no reason for that on the planet. You know, if Jordan Peterson can go and become a global megastar, then anybody can. You know,
exactly.
But yeah, it just goes to show. I mean, like, for most things there isn't a cutoff point really, except for being a professional athlete and things like that. Like you said, I probably was going to be a professional athlete actually at college before I got into the opium and absinthe, and then that's really my career chances.
Here I was telling my story about getting drunk at 30, and you've left out the Black Dragon story. You're making me look like an idiot on stream.
No, I'm only joking.
Oh.
No, I don't think I was ever destined for that, unfortunately. But fortunately for me, though, the stuff that I wanted to do, which was to write and to maybe express ideas and explore ideas and things like that, we can do. We can continue to do. As we get older. But anyway, listen, let's enough about that. Let us go on to another question. So this chap, and I think this is a bit of a trolley type question, but he says, how to get sex as a MGTOW. I mean, surely the definition of a MGTOW is you don't want sex, or you've eschewed sex, if that's the right word.
Assuming this is a real question, because if it's not, I would say the same way as everybody else. You just insert slot or peg D into slot V. But that's if that's a joke. If this is a real one, it's the same as anything. Like, where's your skill level now? What do you know how to do? Do you know how to approach people? Do you know how to talk to people? Do you know how to be comfortable in your sexuality? Do you know how to escalate? Do you know how to put your hands on a girl without getting Me Too'd or slapped in the face? Like, it's impossible to say unless you have a frame of reference. A natural, all he needs to do is be exposed to more girls, and he'll whittle his way through it. If you got a guy who's been living in his parents' basement, he doesn't know sweet face. You're gonna have to be like, here's how you walk up to somebody and start a conversation and start from there. It's like Carl Sagan used to say, how do you bake a pie? Well, first you create the universe. There's my nerd reference for today.
That's a good one. We'll get some what's his name? What's the fascist writer that they
Evola?
Yeah, we'll get some Ebola in later as well.
But okay, if that's a real question, seriously, put something in chat. Let me know where you're starting from, and we'll chat that up while Troy's telling me stories about him on the Black Dragon.
So he is probably trolling, but did you know though that Sandman, the renowned MGTOW content creator, he actually talks about how you can suppress the sexual urge. He basically, there's this whole thing about if you work on it, you basically get to a position where you don't actually even want sex anymore. And that's kind of what he says that he trained himself to do.
That's so weird how intermittent fasting kind of expanded its reach like that.
Yeah, exactly. So yeah, I don't know.
What's his reasoning for that? Why would he say, hey, you know what's great? I can find a way to chop off your balls without the pain. Why go half-assed? Just
castration.
Get a job as the concubine.
Chemical castration should be the end game for MGTOW, shouldn't it? Really?
Yeah, and it's painless. And then
or just physical castration. I mean, maybe
then you're not led by your emotions, and you can live a completely logical life in your cabin in the woods next door to Roosh. You guys get up every morning. Morning. Still the Jews' fault? And he's like, yeah, it's still the Jews' fault. All right, have a good day. You too.
Did you see Roosh tweeted the other day and said, when he is live streaming, his mum says, "Oh, are you going to go and talk to the computer again today?"
What? Did he really say that?
He tweeted it, which is a nice little insight into the domestic life of Rouge.
What the hell?
Sitting there with
Dude,
his mum live streaming.
Honestly, and I wish I could see this stuff. You're not blocked by any of these guys, are you? Obviously, Rouge and you have a good working relationship. So, I mean, I don't want to talk smack about him on your channel, but he did block me very early on in this thing. So even before I was as big as I am now, whatever that means, Cernovich, he and Cernovich wanted nothing to do with me. And I was like, that's the most blessed gift they could have ever given me.
Well, Cernovich blocked me. I don't really know why, because it was before Rule Zero. It was before all of this stuff. And I wasn't taking any pot shots at him or anything, but I must have said something that he didn't like and he blocked me. And that's been for a few years and that's been kind of a blessing. Rouge, well, Rouge hasn't. And, you know, I like Rouge. I mean, he's, well, with some caveats, but, you know, in general, I think he's, you know.
Oh, yeah. See, you know him as a person. I don't know him as a person. I only know him as a bearded brand.
Yeah. I don't follow the direction that he's going in now. And I've certainly got reservations about some of the things he says. But, I mean, in general, you know, he was very good to me and everything. So that's cool. He's an interesting character for sure. So he's quite good. I'm not really blocked by, I mean, I'm blocked by a lot of the 21 guys, Bruno. A lot of those guys I'm blocked by, which is
not that it matters. Everybody just sends me DMs of screenshots of the stuff he says. Apparently he's in the hospital now. I don't know what from. Yeah, I guess he got a case of DFD, dumb F disease. I don't know. Actually, I shouldn't dunk on him. I would feel bad if he had like cancer, and I'm like, yeah, screw that guy. But it's not the point of this anyway. We're talking about getting guys who want to get laid, not ones who want to move into the woods and blame, you know, the Jewish people for everything. And we're not talking about guys who want to castrate themselves or Sandman or what's the other guy, Stardew. Who's the other one? He used to talk Stardust. Yeah, these guys. I don't know. It's weird. They always sound like glam rock band members. Don't you notice?
Yeah, man. I bought Stardust's first album in 1973.
Yeah, awesome. Or like an 80s punk band, like or 90s grunge, like Turd Flinging Monkey next to the Butthole Surfers.
Yeah. Were you ever into New Order at all?
Into who?
New Order.
No, like the band, or is this like a New World Order
the band?
Thing?
No, the band.
I was raised grunge, but I didn't catch New Order.
Okay. No, I've just been listening to a lot of New Order recently. They're kind of like 80s, 90s kind of.
Like I bet you they're like Depeche Mode. You look like one of those Depeche Mode kind of guys.
They are like Depeche Mode. In fact, they toured with Depeche Mode.
Okay, I almost did though. I got like the tail end of 9 Inch Nails, so that's about as close as I got to Depeche Mode, and then like the Smashing Pumpkins Ava Adore album. But I'll probably end up liking them now because I actually am finding a lot of like synth stuff from the 80s is pretty good.
Yeah, well, check out New Order because I've been listening to a lot of them recently. Anyway, let's get back to the degeneracy. So JD says, do you think night game is generally speaking handicapped for the foreseeable future? It seems to me that the state's antisocial regs are too overbearing in many ways. JD, I can't remember where you are. Are you in the States or you're in the? I think you might.
No, he's one of you guys. He's one of the Empire.
UK, yeah. Well, yes, I think it is handicapped for sure. But like I've been saying, I mean, in London specifically, and maybe I'm in a bit of a bubble here, but in central London, it's been pretty crazy at night time, but largely not within venues because nightclubs aren't open. Bars are open, but they're sort of being careful about the people inside. But because it's been warm and because it's summer, like Soho, for example, in the centre of London, has been pedestrianised. So at the weekends, you just get everybody sitting outside the bars. And it's been like a bloody rave down there. It really has. I mean, just people all over the streets, like carousing, and it's been which has been quite gratifying actually in a way. Just the sort of two fingers up to the
they're starting to do that here. It's awesome where they just open up the streets. It reminds me of like when we used to drink in like South Korea or Thailand, where you just day drinking, wandering the streets with beer. Except for we don't have like a bunch of chavs from Essex or whatever wandering the streets. Roy. Chanting some weird soccer chant that I have never heard of before. Did I get that right? Did I do my Essex right?
Yeah. All right, mate. What are you doing? Come on, mate. Come on, let's have a tear up. So So central London, and also in areas like Clapham and things like that, where there's a lot of bars, and because we're lucky at the moment because it's really hot here. We're in a heat wave. Tomorrow is going to be one of the hottest days ever, apparently, in Britain. So everybody's out. The parks are busy. Outdoor places are busy. So it's all quite fun. And I mean, as far as like games concerned, I mean, it's on easy mode at the moment, really, because everyone's out, everyone's in good mood, loads of girls around. Loads of opportunities. So it kind of depends where you are. I mean, if on the other hand you're in Leicester, who I believe are still locked down, obviously you've got problems. So I think yes, in the main, I think night game is tricky. Certainly after we come out of the summer, depending on what happens, as we go into the fall or the winter. But this is why really concentrating your daytime rather than doing some online game. And this is I believe was important to have. Your bone. If you were just a night gamer, you'd be pretty screwed at the moment. But obviously, because we've got these other avenues, all is not lost.
Kind of like even like I know I'm just a mystery guy, whatever. But even then, the mystery system, it was night game, but it worked fine outside and the streets and just normal talking too. I found as long as you're not using the same canned routines, but you're just following what was the goal of each phase. Like, what's the goal of attraction? What's the goal of an opener? And then once you understand that, it's okay. How do I start a conversation with the stranger? How do I escalate? You'd obviously want to take it a little slower because out in the street, you don't want to just start groping a girl right away. Heaven forbid. Yeah, don't do that. Maybe it's not as useful as the London day game model, man. Granted, you are in London. It's like in Canada, we just call it bacon, even though it's Canadian bacon. So I guess you guys just call it the day game model.
Well, the thing with the London day game model is that it is largely based on mystery method, really. It's just mystery method that's been sort of retooled a little bit to work, to be a bit more applicable to a daytime situation rather than a nightclub in Los Angeles. And the thing is, really, I mean, I think in the end, all game stuff goes back to mystery method, I believe, really, because the basic structure of an interaction is always kind of going to be the same, isn't it? And I think Mystery even talked about that. He said, this ancient sort of mating dance from first meet through to, escalation, a bit of comfort, and then, close. That basic structure is going to happen whether it's daytime, whether it's nighttime, whether it's Tinder. That's just how it works, So
just different details. I was thinking too. Do you remember the I gotta feed my fish bit?
I'm not sure.
I know it's a very specific thing. Okay, so you guys may not know this then for the audience. So what you would do, I don't remember where it went in. It's been a while, but you're driving a girl. You're gonna go out do your night game routine on it. It's like a date thing. At some point, you make an excuse that you have to stop off at home. And he would say, it's like, oh, I got to go feed my fish. You should come in for a minute. And the idea then is that a girl you've already put in plausible deniability. Well, I've already been at his place before. So it's not like, it's the same as the opener. You do the opener and then you skedaddle. So next time you meet her, it's not that stranger that's monopolizing my time. It's that guy I met from earlier. And you have a rapport this way. So it's like, yeah, come back to my place. Oh yeah, you've already been there. We did the fish thing.
Yeah, exactly. That's a really good.
Make sure you have a fish. But that's the thing. I was thinking of this. Picture, like, you can't drink outside. The bars are all closed. Like, look, bars are closed. It's plausible deniability. Well, let's go back. I got a patio. We can just drink out there for a bit, and then we'll get you home at a nice early hour because I don't date that kind of girl or whatever. But like, there's always a narrative you can give for a girl to have plausible deniability. Now, I haven't tested this, so it could be mental masturbation for all I know, but it makes sense. Actually, I shouldn't say that. No, mental masturbation. Try it out first. Let me know. Get back to me, and then I'll parade it as it's good.
Yeah, I think plausible deniability is really key. And yes, I mean, getting her comfortable with your place is a good move prior to bringing her back to escalate things, because it's a bit of comfort, isn't it? And it feels less weird. I think a lot of this stuff, it's all about breaking down the natural barriers that exist between people. So you go and introduce yourself, but then you're bringing touch into the equation quite early. Not creepy touch, but like touch on the arm, touch on the shoulder, whatever. When you're talking, maybe touch on the hands, whatever. Because you're breaking down the barrier that exists around touch between two people. You're just making it natural and normal. And the more quickly you can do that, the more intimate she feels with you, and then things move on to the next stage.
Exactly. I don't know a lot of the details about London, but if you're drinking out on the street, I guarantee you there's nothing you can say when you're drinking on the street that'll get you slapped. I've tried at least half of what you're thinking of right now, and it all works.
The first this was a couple of months ago now, but the first sign of game that I saw again after lockdown was actually in one of the parks. one of the parks quite near to here, and I was going for a walk with my girl. It was in the afternoon, very sunny, people out and about. This was probably like May or something like that, and they just started to ease things up a bit, not as much as now, but a little bit. People were out and about a bit more. It was one of the first days of that, and we were walking into the park, and there was this wooded area, and I see a girl, a quite cute actually looking girl with a white dress, who's sort of standing like talking to somebody, and as we're drawing near. And I see that she's talking to this guy who's standing in the wood, in the trees. And the guy's standing behind a tree. And of course, what he's doing is taking a leak. And he's talking to this girl at the same time. And as we walk past, the girl goes, "I'm not giving you my number when you've got your cock in your hand." And he's like, "Why not? Why not?" And he's like holding a beer, and he's got his member in his hand, and he's urinating. And it's I just thought it was a beautiful thing. I was thinking, like, this is, life is returning.
Yeah, you're a writer.
You're
right up there with delicious tacos and the way you could put a visual image together. I like it.
Yeah, I mean, I wish I knew if they got together and made sweet love. I mean, I hope they did. But anyway, it was kind of heartening just to see a bit of interaction. And I was thinking, listen, nobody's bothered about the R number. You've got a bloke, with his cock in his hand trying to ask out this girl. I mean, like, come on,
fearless.
The whole. Exactly. I don't recommend that as a technique, though, by the way. So that's not recommended in Cat Academy. But yeah, it's an interesting.
It's only been tried once. We're not sure yet.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, go. Don't go and do it 5 times and then report back. So Random Donut, who's a friend of the show, has got a question for you, Ryan. He said, "What are the 3 most important red pills in a long-term relationship?"
3 off the top of my head is that she will turn you into something you don't want to be, and that she won't appreciate if you let her.
Right. Yeah.
Girls in general are horrible with money, and they get mad when you try and correct them. And for the 3rd one, I'm not even sure how to word this, but it's mostly for family guys in long-term relationship. Once you have kids, there's a certain type of girl, and maybe it's all girls, I don't know. I've got some experience with a lot of my friends, some not, where once they know you're hooked because you love the kids, whether it's stepkids or your kids, girls tend to go feral, and they like treat the relationship now as like that's the prize. Kind of like how girls want a wedding, but they don't want a marriage. So once the marriage starts, they just don't know what to do with it. Because we used to call it was something in the military. We called them insta families. A guy would go out on a sail for like 3-6 months. He'd come home. We'd have like a month-long break. He'd come back. All of a sudden, he has like a wife and 2 kids. We're like, what the hell happened? And he ended up with a divorced chick with kids, and he's got an instant family. And it was usually the story. And sometimes it was a girl we all knew. And by knew, I meant intimately. And they were usually not good girls. But the guy was like, yeah, I just really like the kids though. And then the girl would treat him like crap, but he was kind of hooked because he loved the kids. And I think what's the red pill lesson in there is that kids will be weaponized insofar as you love them unconditionally. Now, I don't know how to word that in a less calloused way, but that's the only way I can think of it. So that's probably the biggest 3. Actually, I just had an argument with, not an argument, but a conversation with this girl, No URL on Twitter, Danny California.
Oh, yeah.
And she was talking about how she wanted to get out of debt. And then I was bringing up, it's like, that she's having some problems, wants her husband wants her boyfriend to propose to her. And I'm like, not having that debt probably be a good way. And like, he mentioned that to me. And then I started going through the kind of arguments that couples tend to have over finances. And she checked all the boxes. So I was starting to realize, okay, so every couple has this same argument about money. Girls will automatically pull out. You can't tell me what to do with my money. They'll cry. And then most guys will just back off. And so if you're able to hold frame and not worry about making your girl cry, like financially, it's probably the best thing for you. But watching guys who buckle, it's like, that's a red pill. And I can't explain it to you. You kind of have to experience it. But then unfortunately for you, it'll be too late.
Yeah,
hopefully that answers the question. Got a little dark.
Yeah, no. Yes, bring the mood down a little bit. But yeah, I mean, it's kind of dispiriting what you're saying about children. I mean, because I think when you lose leverage, I mean, maybe children is one way, but I would say also when you fall in love, I mean, once she knows that she's got you on the hook, then you are vulnerable. Now, I don't mean that to sound horrifically misogynistic or anything, but I just think it's sort of, I just think it's natural in a power balance anyway, right? I mean, if you show yourself to be vulnerable, when you start needing them perhaps more than they need you, then you're in a vulnerable position, right?
Well, like let's put it in like simple terms. I'm sure people here have gone grocery shopping on a full stomach and on an empty stomach, and you see that simple need influences your choices. So if you're starving when you go to the grocery store, you buy dumb food. When you're full, when you go to the grocery store, you only buy what you tend to need, or you stick to a list. So it doesn't that so hard to believe that this stuff would apply in interpersonal relationships as well. Well, if your need for validation or your need to like love kids or love the girl, if that's full, then you're going to have different behaviors than if you're walking in there thirsty. It's the same kind of thing. We're just all meat puppets. So we're going to act like meat puppets act. No different than other primates, except for we got better thumbs.
Exactly.
Much better.
Exactly. I'm not sure if this is a red pill. Well, I guess it's kind of red pill, but I shared on Twitter earlier. I think perhaps you saw it, Ryan, but I got accosted by a guy. I was in North London. I was just sitting on a bench, minding my own business, waiting for somebody. And this old guy came and sat down next to me. And he'd been walking down the street. He was this really old man. He sits down next to me and he just starts talking to me like sometimes, people do.
Ooh, old man openers. You got rooshed.
Exactly. Yeah, exactly. Not +1, but I think I was in there. But no, he came and sat down and he said, I'm walking down the street, my back and all that. And then he said he was 82 and he just started chatting to me. And he said he'd lived in London. He was Cypriot from Cyprus. He'd lived in London for actually longer than I've been alive. And he said, I was married for 40 years. And he said, and then she died, and I cried like a baby. And I said, I'm so sorry to hear that. When was this? And he said, it was about 15 years ago. And he said, I didn't ask him or anything, but he said, I could never remarry. I would never remarry.
Ooh,
and that's it. And I was just like, I was like, man, I'm so sorry. I'm so sorry. He said, well, that's just how it is. And then he started complaining about the locals in the area and the Romanians in the area, and so we went off on two different tangents.
That was the gypsies' fault. Well, actually, it's funny you mentioned that. I know your point of this one too. We actually had a guy, Frenchie, married red pill. He's in his 60s, had the perfect marriage to the unicorn. She was richer than him. She loved the ground he walked on. She died of cancer in her late 50s, and she did that thing like, I want you to date again. That was kind of a promise to them. And he couldn't do it. Same reason. It was like every girl that he was dating, he would compare to her. And there was no way any of them compete with that in his head. Like, even if she wasn't as good as he thinks she is, but that's that image in your head of perfection. And so we kind of talked him into like learning can I swear on this?
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah, like a hate fuck. Like, here's just a quick hate fuck or a sport fuck where you like detach the love from the sex. And then he was able to kind of start enjoying the company of women again. But that's a hard lesson for guys. It's just as hard as like the guy AK in here, the one we were talking about before, which turns out actually was a legit question.
Yes, I saw that. Yeah.
Yeah. Those guys in sexless, like that are living sexless lives. He has the same problem. It's just, it's way later in life and for different reasons. So.
Well, yeah, I mean, the main, no, for sure. I mean, the main thing that struck me when I was talking to that guy was more that, I mean, there are no guarantees in anything in life, are there? And you get these trad guys on Twitter going, I don't know if you saw that bloke yesterday who just said, "Oh, just get married and you'll be happy forever." And it's like, I mean, it's just so naive because sadly stuff like this happens, and because you're in a relationship with somebody one day and you're married, and even you've been married a long time, it doesn't mean that that's going to be the status quo forever. And I'm not sure it's a red pill so much as just a kind of a slightly depressing life reality. But I mean, you can't, you can never think, right, no, I've reached the shore now, I'm safe, I can just relax on the beach forever. Do you know what I mean? Like, you never know when another wave's going to hit.
Exactly. There's only so many. I guess the best way to describe it is like a cognitive reframe. This can be bad or this can be good. It's all about what angle you approach it from. Yeah, we all die alone. That sucks. You can either cry about it in your white picket fence, half paid for, or you can realize, okay, we all die alone. So then all of these choices about lifelong commitment are pretty much moot. So what do you do now? And then it opens up your options. Now your expectations and reality are much better aligned than when you listen to, insert any one of the 500 assholes I reference all the time with my goofy jokes.
Yeah. Yeah.
With their trust me, I'm 28. I know what life is right now. Join my life coaching program. We're going to teach you how to drink rosé out of a fine beer stein and marry the girl of your dreams, stay together forever. I'm like, dude, that bothers me. That's like a doctor who has a perfect cure for you that'll cure you in 6 months, and then he skedaddles over to the next town. Meanwhile, you've died because he made you drink Radion or something like that. Like literal snake oil salesman. It's annoying.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, but this has been the thing. I mean, because most of these guys are about 30 on Twitter who are saying this stuff, and you kind of think, well, with all due respect, if you've been married for
keyword.
If you've been married for 4 years, I mean, how much can you really bring to the party in terms of, because as Black Dragon, the blogger, always says, the first 3-4 years you're on easy mode, really. Well, you're on hard mode compared to just casually dating, but you're on easy mode in terms of the LTR. And maybe, I don't know, maybe you can speak to this yourself, but he says it's after the sort of the 3 year mark, you get into 3-4 years, etc., then things start to, then you're starting to get into the more difficult territory. And of course, it depends on the girl you're with, the woman you're with, and everything else. But
there's all those like random variables of normal stuff. I don't know though. I think it's not so much the amount of years you're together. I think there's certain like the epiphany phase stuff, like Rolo talks about. I think when a girl hits those baby rabies years, when she hits the Karen age, like there's certain shifts there that happen. And honestly, like an entitled battle axe Karen of a wife, even if you've been together for a year or 10 years, I don't think that aspect of her would change. If you got a girl that's very demanding like that and you don't have strong bitch management, it's going to hit you.
Yeah.
But you're right. And that's the thing. Maybe Pat Stedman's wife, I don't know her from Adam. Maybe she's the most wonderful girl ever. Doesn't give many problems, perfectly happy. And, whichever one of them passes first, the other one is going to hang themselves in the garage the next day. And they truly will lifelong monogamy together. That's great. But you can't chalk that up to anything else but luck. And the reason I know that is because we've asked guys, any guy who's like, I've been married for 40 years to my high school sweetheart. We're like, great. Show us your system. And they're always like, they'll just give you some whatever post hoc rationale they can come up with. Well, take her to the dance, or here's a Bruno jab, rest in peace. Or, always drink a glass of wine at dinner, or always ask the dad for like all those, the random advice that's just correlation, not causation. So it's not really helpful. So like, good for you. You guys solved the problem of life, but you can't take anybody with you on that journey. So it's really not useful.
Yeah.
Which is why I like stuff like you or Rolo or Rich, where it's kind of like, all right, 800 guys have done this and 780 of them survived. And this is what they did. So that's replicatable and that's actually useful.
Yes, I think so. I mean, that's what we always say about the early game community. It was all very much based on people going out and actually experimenting and trying things and then reporting their findings back rather than just, sort of pontificating. This guy, not a question. I'm the guy who had snakes on your last stream. He was asking a question about if you have snakes, is that a barrier to getting chicks?
Because I used to have snakes.
Did you? Really?
Yeah, and growing up on my ranch, we had 5. We had royal ball python. Yeah, as pets. My stepdad was one of those collectors. Royal ball python, a couple boas, and an albino. 16 footers. Or somewhere, I'll put it up on Twitter when I find it. There's an old photo of me with like a Jake the Snake Roberts and a wife beater thing. Yeah, it's whatever. It's just, it'll attract a certain kind of girl, and certain kind of girls will be kind of freaked out by it, but whatever. As long as you don't have like rats as pets.
Yeah, exactly. I was going to say that actually. That's basically what I said yesterday, although I'd never had snakes as pets. But yeah, I think some girls are going to be really into it. Others probably less so. But that's just like
it's really. It's like owning a Harley or a crotch rocket. Girls are terrified of it, but if you can put them on it and take them for a ride, they'll love it. Just tell him, don't touch the snake in the head when he's hungry. That's literally the only thing you have to do.
There are so many double entendres going through my head right now, but I won't. I won't go into that kind of dirty humor. Instead, Matt's got a really good question. Who's the best guitarist in the Manosphere? I vote Rollo. It probably is. It's got to be, right?
Here's a better question. Who's the second best guitarist? It could be me, but I got arthritis in my hand. I can't play anymore.
Oh, did you play before?
Yeah, I used to play. I was actually like a gifted kid growing up, and they put me in all the fancy music classes. I was.
Oh, really?
My brother and I were both electric guitar, piano, that sort of thing. And after the car accident, my hands got arthritis and I can't play as much. But, you know, give me another month to get back into it. But yeah, I've never done the band thing. I'm pretty sure Rolo's a man alone in this one.
I can't think of anybody else who plays. Rich Cooper looks like he could be a bass player.
He could, but I've never seen a guitar or a bass in his house. I've never seen an instrument in his house.
No, I don't think he is. I'm just saying he looks like he could be. You could imagine him like sort of, you know.
I almost think you're insulting him though by calling him the bassist. He's the one that doesn't get paid in the group.
No, the bass is like, you know, an all important industry. Instrument in any band. The drummer's the real insult, isn't it? I suppose. JD says.
There we go. Yeah. Sorry.
JD says he lives somewhere in the southeast of London. Yeah, I mean, you know, coming to the centre. I mean, I know people, you know, people have different opinions about the centre, but going to Soho the weekend it's crazy at the moment.
You guys have same rules as here, I take it? Like if you're in buildings, companies, or public transport, you have to wear a mask, essentially, yes. But outside, they don't care?
Outside is fine, yeah. Apparently in Spain, you actually have to wear a mask outside as well, which sounds crazy, particularly because it's really hot over there at the moment.
I was going to say, I'd like to see how they enforce that.
Yeah, but
on the mask thing, don't be too... Like, I know I'm about as anti-mask, and I'm kind of that side of COVID that we don't talk about much now, but I will say there's a lot of guys that are just being edgy with it for the sake of it. So don't be afraid to, like, if there's a consequence you don't want to handle, don't make yourself a martyr with the mask thing. I know this is totally off topic, but play it up. I mean, you're wearing like what? You have like a Crip and a Blood bandana you're wearing, right?
I've just got bandanas. I've got kind of like...
which I love. That's like as useless as nothing.
I've got slightly addicted to these bandanas because they're more comfortable to wear. I mean, like I'm a bit like you, really. I'm sort of like...
I'd rather catch the virus than deal with all this shit.
Well, I mean, you know, it's like I'm not particularly happy with the way any of this has gone, really. I mean, like I was quite skeptical about lockdowns as a, you know, and I just hope to God there aren't more national lockdowns again. I mean, you know, but let's see what happens. But I mean, the fact that they shut the entire world down, I just found it's one of the most depressing things I think there's ever happened in my lifetime that I can remember. But
you see that new stat where there's more suicides now than deaths from COVID because of it?
Well done, guys. I mean, it was there was in one of the papers here actually. They were saying that you know there have been so many deaths from other things, including the diseases, you know, cancer and things that they weren't treating during COVID, and only 2% of deaths during the period have actually been from COVID or something ridiculous. So
isn't that not the ultimate? We did it, Reddit.
but you know, but in the end, I mean, it's a bit like if you've got to wear a mask on the subway, I mean, whatever, do you know what I mean? I'm not gonna tie myself to the railings about it. I mean, it is what it is. I'm not particularly, I'd rather not, but at the same time, I'm happy that at least we're able to get out and about and resume some sort of normality. So
yeah, and you have it as a prop too. So that's now you're wearing it as a bandana. You can talk about that. Yeah. And I was just thinking, don't take this the wrong way, but I'm like, that's perfect. So once you're in public, you take it off, you just put it in your back pocket. You've opened yourself to a whole nother sphere of possible production.
Well, indeed.
Which anybody in the chat know what I'm talking about? Let me know.
Yeah, which is why I haven't got a red one, because I think red ones are particularly. I think a red one is particularly damaging. But
was it red or was it a brown one? Whatever.
Oh God,
it's probably better that we don't know exactly which.
Yeah. Yeah,
oh, you mean exactly. The taupe one, obviously.
So Itman90 says, being from Europe, and he is as well, what country do you feel like gaming was easier? I have to say Scandinavia. I've been in Iceland and Norway, but would love to hear your opinion. I mean, to be honest, I haven't really done that much in those countries. I mean, I've been to Sweden, I've been to Stockholm a few times, I've done some stuff there. That's pretty good. I am a little bit of a stereotypical British day game person in the sense that I just really like Eastern Europe. You know, I really like Prague in the Czech Republic. I really like
stands.
I really like Poland. I really like Budapest in Hungary. You know, places like that. I think for me are the goal. I mean, like I'm just, I don't know what it is. I'm just less sort of drawn to the
Western
Scandinavian
Europe.
countries.
Maybe that's an empire thing.
Do you think so? Maybe.
Yeah, where it's
Maybe
like,
it
if
is,
you guys
yeah.
haven't beat us in at least one more, then we don't want nothing to do with you.
Exactly. Yeah, exactly. I think
No
I'll tell
girls
you what
but
it is.
Russians and Afghanistanis.
Yeah, exactly. I'll tell you what I think it is. I think those countries are very clean and very nice, aren't they? And very sort of, and I quite like the sort of. There's still a hint of dodginess about places like Hungary and certainly like Serbia and things like that. You know, I quite like it's a bit more of an edgy vibe. You know, whereas Sweden, it's just, you know, people knitting tofu jumpers and, you know, and all that kind of thing. I mean, although of course, you know, Sweden has a reputation, and rightly so, and I think the girls are quite forward there and everything. So it's definitely good things about it.
I was thinking, you ever been to Croatia?
I have, but not. I've been a couple of times, but not very extensively.
Oh, but not for the game thing. I would say I really like that, but I, for some reason, had this really good knack for always running into Canadians. Like, I just kept running into girls from Montreal. It was the weirdest thing. But I really liked it. It had that same, like, generic, you know, that generic European city vibe?
Yeah.
It had that, but because it had been taken over by every different culture and it was kind of sort of Slavic, it had like a little bit of everything. So it feels a little bit like Greece, a little bit like Britain, the first necktie shop, an old ancient Roman thing, and a little bit tropical like southern France, but everybody was super approachable. It was super easy to flirt. Granted, I always told the guys I was half Irish. So they're like, oh, okay, so he's Catholic. He's cool. But I'm like, all right, I don't want to get involved in that side of things, but whatever. But I liked it.
Yeah, I mean, it's a beautiful place as well. I was in Montenegro last year, which is the next country along, and I mean, it's so beautiful, and it's Montenegro is good because it's a little bit untouched, because Croatia is quite a big destination now for a lot of Brits and things.
Really?
Yeah, I mean, and actually, I think they're reasonably open there this year as well, with the whole COVID situation. I think there was even some talk of them doing some festivals there, but I don't know if that's actually happening.
Oh, look at them go full Sweden. Oh yeah, Sweden's got to be good then, because Sweden just did not. They're like, whatever, if it happens, it happens. And they just went about their day. Yeah, go to Sweden to hit on girls. Those ones clearly are up for a little bit of risky behavior.
Yeah, exactly. So no, Sweden would be a good option at the moment, definitely. B's talking about Switzerland being difficult to game in, particularly Zurich. I'm not sure I agree with that, actually, because I've been to Zurich a couple of times, and I actually quite like Zurich. The main problem with Zurich is it's incredibly expensive. It really is like going into
Switzerland.
Yeah, it's like going into an alternate universe where suddenly everything costs like triple the price that it would, sort of in the UK or anywhere else. But I quite like Zurich. It's
and Zurich is like, that's the German Bantustan or whatever they call it, the German quarter of Switzerland, isn't it?
Yes.
Yeah, because I can't imagine that the French or Italian quarters are equally bad. They've got to be more open and friendly.
Yeah, I think it's quite good, and it's quite pedestrian. There's a lot of pedestrian streets there and things like that. So I think it's all right. It's all right. Right, Taylor Hauer, who is a frequent correspondent.
There's the second best guitar player in the sphere. Nailed it.
Yeah, absolutely. Are you aware of Taylor? Are you in contact with him?
No, I have no idea who he is. I'm actually learning it right now. I kind of like him already, though.
I think he's an actor. I think he does some acting. I think he might do some music as well. Put it in the chat, Taylor. I think you do a bit of music as well, don't you? He says, I think game is more important in terms of women. When I went to a club in my dad's car and wore my nice suit, it didn't do anything. Learning game approaching did. Well, this is an interesting one, right? Because obviously we are aware in the sphere that there are certain content creators who are very keen to talk about how much money they've got and all of that. And I don't know if you saw that Delicious Tacos tweet the other day, but he said PUA advice in 5 years has gone from learning game to become a millionaire. And he's right, it kind of hasn't it? And I think that is reductive. But I mean, what's your take on that?
Dude, it's the worst advice since that stupid leaning in green line bullshit. And I mean this with all the respect, all due respect, all negative due of it. And everybody who's had any sexual experience will tell you that some of their best times were like a mattress on the floor, not a pot to piss in, or a window to throw it out of. Basically, wealthy enough not to be living with your parents, but not so wealthy that your place looks boyfriend potential. My first 6 months, brand new condo, It was on the ground floor of a condo. It was aluminum wiring, which nobody can see that. But I had to take out the floor, so it was a cement slab on my floor. All I had was like a box spring and a mattress. Awesome. Slayed it. Most of my funnest times were there. Once I got back from deployment and I started getting nice furniture, that's when the girlfriend stuff started showing up. So like, I don't believe this money thing for a second. Plus, it's a beta quality. And I know a lot of guys think beta means bad, but beta just means comfort. What makes girls comfortable and commitment like? That's beta. Alpha is the stuff that makes her tingle, makes her wet. And yeah, money is a beta quality. Unless you're a prostitute, but even then their heart's not in it.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, money it's provider game, isn't it? Essentially, that's what it comes down to. You're saying, I've got a lot of money, I can, I have provisioning abilities. So do you want to get with me? I mean, that's the kind of the message. Yeah,
and even that BF Skinner experiment with the monkeys. Remember that one where they gave monkeys grapes, and then the first thing the monkeys did was trade the grapes for sex with the female monkeys? Really? Like, really, guys, you got to think better of yourself than this. Come on. What are we, monkey hookers? Come on.
Exactly. No, I agree. Okay, what about the argument though? And I'm asking for a friend that as you get older, like it's all very well to be a poor starving artist in your 20s, but then as you get older, you
that old straw man. Yeah, it's like
what do you reckon about that?
All right, guys, there's this drinking game where every time I talk about the tism, you take a drink. So get your beers out. That's a tism argument. 100% tism. Yeah. When you say money doesn't get women, money is not an alpha quality, the automatic thing of people that want to tell you you're stupid is, well, what happens if you're broke at 50? Nobody's going to want to touch you. It's like, nobody said be broke. People just said, don't treat your money as if it's like condom lubricant. Like, you know what I mean? Obviously have money. People like money. Money buys nice things. Money paid for this shirt. I got no problems with money. Money owes me $20. Money comes to money will come to my birthday. Money comes to work with me. Money comes home. Money buys me beer on the weekends. Money is awesome. But I don't just wave it, like when I was single, I don't just wave it around at girls like, hey, fat stacks, money clip. Like, no, they're just going to look at that going, I want his money, but I'm not really attracted to him. So what's the least amount of thirst I can give this guy in order to get paid? And that's essentially what you're signaling.
Yes.
It's almost, I remember there was a guy in the Sphere. I know I'm rumbling on your time here, but there was this one guy in the Sphere had the funniest field report. And it's one thing I've been trying to find it. He found out that when he brought girls to his place, he was like an investment banker. He had a really swank apartment. And when he brought girls home, his place was too nice. And so as soon as that happened, they started getting the anti-slut defense. It's like, well, let's take this slower. They tried to put him in the boyfriend zone. So he literally, Carl was telling you this, I didn't know the follow-up. He's like, I took my bedroom and I put it in the living room. So when they came home, there was no illusion about what the hell we're doing here. And I thought that was absolutely funny. He even said for like a couple times he would rent an Airbnb. So he just had some normal average apartment and that's where he'd take girls back to. I thought that was absolutely hilarious.
Well, it can. Yeah, you're right. And I mean, there have been times when, I mean, day game coaches will tell guys who are wealthy to play it down. Take the watch off. Don't show ostentatious wealth because you're sending out the wrong signals. And we've all seen. I mean, it's almost a cliche now, but the guy sitting in the club on his own on the VIP table with the $10,000 bottle of whatever in front of him, and it's like it's true. I mean, girls will go along and sit on the tables because they'll get a free drink, and then they'll wander off with the drink, go down to the dance floor and go and have sex with Chad in the toilets, who's like, making,
don't you guys call those the loo?
Yeah, the loo. Yeah.
Have a little romper in the loo.
It's like Austin Powers.
I don't know. I'm not good at Britannica.
It's like Austin Powers. You make me horny, baby.
Yeah, basically Austin Powers, Logan Run, and James Bond are my only experience.
Austin Powers was really funny. Actually, that was a good.
But not indicative of British culture. I get it.
No, absolutely not. No, quite offensive. JD is talking about Hamburg, which is quite funny. Did we talk about the Reaper Barn last time?
I don't remember. I just know Hamburg has the best sandwich ever.
You've been to Hamburg?
No, but I've had their sandwiches.
Oh, okay. Well, that's good.
You don't know what I'm... So that's where the hamburger was invented.
Oh, right. Okay. Right. Okay. Sorry. It's late at night and I'm being thick. But Reaper Barn is a very degenerate, as JD says, it's sort of like a It's another one of those like sailor towns. It's like a port town. And
nice.
it's got this street called, well, actually the main bit of Hamburg is quite boring, because I was there with Tom Torero last year, and you've got the Reeperbahn, which is this street which is about a mile long, and it's the red light area. So it's all like strip clubs, there's bars, there's clubs, there's porn cinemas, sex shops. Like,
so it's like the Amsterdam Red District, or is it better?
Yeah, but it's almost better in a way, because the Amsterdam red light district is very like touristy now. You get girls going around with their boyfriends. You haven't got the girls in the windows in Hamburg so much, but in terms of like neon lights and just tacky like seediness, it's probably better than Amsterdam. It's like really full on, and it's such a long street as well. So,
dude, you got me sold.
Absolutely, man. Come over. We should do Rule Zero 2021, or hot dude.
As soon as we get our vaccination approval, sounds good.
Yeah, no, it's awesome. It's a really fun place. I was there with Tom Torero last year, and it was like, but the main city itself is quite boring, because then when you go away from the port area into the city, it's very middle class, it's very German, very ordered, like a Munich type thing. But go out to the Reeperbahn, it's just like Sodom and Gomorrah. It was brilliant. And there's all these like sailor themed bars and things like that. There's all these like anchor symbols all over the place. It's really, really cool.
That would be kind of neat.
But it's also one of those places where I wouldn't say it's not hipster, but it's also a place where a lot of young people go out. So it's also a really good place for dating and stuff, and for game, because there are just so many girls and stuff out. It's like the party place basically.
Yeah. Well, no, plus it's one of those things. Sorry, thinking back to this in Amsterdam, it was something I noticed. So I was from Victoria, BC. That's where I ran most of my game. Smaller town, 300,000 people, port town, university town, obviously a lot of stuff. But strip clubs used to be like, that was the guy place to go. You go to the strip clubs with your buddies. And I noticed over my tenure, at the beginning, it was all guys in the meat seats, all guys getting the lap dances, all that. And then by the end, like, girls had taken over the meat seats, and girls were buying lap dances for their buddies as a joke. And I kind of, yeah. So, and then when you were talking about Amsterdam kind of becoming more touristy and less degenerate, and the Hamburg is still holding on, it's neat. Like, these places are kind of going away. We're becoming civilized, and girls are literally invading those places where guys can be just a drunken asshole, for lack of a better term. And I kind of miss that. Like, even if I don't go there every weekend, it's kind of comforting to know that they're there. Like a place that a guy can go and just like piss his pants and then have a good story about it, as opposed to getting like in Mexico, same thing. There's always a story about one of the sailors. He would try to piss behind a dumpster, but he fumbled with this thing, pissed his pants. Cop would pull him over. He'd pay the fine at the station and then come back to ship. And he had a good laugh over that. But like, that's all going away. And I know it sounds like, why is he lamenting that you can't pee your pants in public anymore? But it's just kind of, there's a Wild West freedom to it. You know what I mean? Like, this is a place where I don't have to put on my good boy hat. And it's just kind of sad that they're going away.
Absolutely. There's a couple of things coming off of that, actually, because it occurred to me a few years ago that actually a lot of gentrification, when we talk about gentrification in cities, and it's happened in London, there's very sort of like dodgy old areas that have been like done up and they're all posh and nice now. It's happening in Berlin quite a lot, sadly, and everywhere else. Because
JD just sent me a photo of this place.
Did he?
Yeah, awesome. Nice.
Because but gentrification, it seems to me, is actually feminization. Really, it's almost taking those crappy old neighborhoods and making them more female friendly. So they're the kind of place where your girlfriend would want to come or possibly live, or it's the kind of place where your mum would come around, for dinner and not feel offended. They're sort of smoothing the edges. So I think gentrification is, and there's kind of a manosphere type take on it, I suppose. But do you see what I mean? I think gentrification.
Yeah, it's like when girls make the bathroom pink and smell like lavender. You're like, what the hell?
Yeah.
Now I'm like talking about Reeperbahn as if it's like the man cave of the earth.
Well, I don't know. Do you know that dude on Twitter called Ernst Graf? I retweet him a lot, and he's not a manosphere guy at all. He's a writer. But he's very degenerate. He just talks about strip clubs and things all the time.
I like him already.
I'll send you the link to his.
The Marquis de Sade guy. Okay,
the Marquis de Sade. Yeah. So he's not a manosphere guy or anything like that, but he's sort of, I think largely because I've retweeted him a lot. He's sort of I think he's sort of known a little bit in that thing, and he writes for Punch Riot now, actually.
No shit. All right, I'm following his ass.
He writes for Punch Riot for Nick August, and he's a really great writer. But what he does is he romanticizes those places. So he talks about Berlin, Vienna, Brussels is another one, funny enough, and I can't. Oh, there's another one. He calls it his 4 stations of the cross, and he goes to these places, and he's into pay for play and going to strip clubs and stuff like that. So he's not a game person or anything like that. But it's just he writes about it in this really sort of romanticized, beautiful way, and quite funny as well. And his whole thing is basically he's lamenting the fact that it's all dying off. You know, he calls it the melting of the ice. He says the ice is melting all over Europe. You know, all of these places are slowly disappearing. And
oh, it's too bad. I wonder when we're going to lose Southeast Asia then, because I had so much fun in like Patong Alley in Phuket in Thailand.
Yeah.
And I know that place burned down and they rebuilt it. I'm pretty sure that's going to be touristy soon enough. Same as Bangkok or even Busan in Korea. That's actually what Reaper Bomb reminded me of, was when I was in South Korea partying over there in that area. And they loved it. If you were like a native English speaker, the college girls there would that was like the equivalent of what Western guys looked like to Ukrainians back in like 2003. It's like that automatic SMV boost.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, I like these places because there's a sort of seedy romanticism about them, you know. And like you say, maybe it also comes down to what gets me really is the fact that I suppose it's like a combination of woke culture plus just economics. Is just forcing there's no room anymore in our cities for grubbiness or for like seediness. Like everything's got to be clean, and chrome and
like
glass.
There's no straight lines in nature. That same vibe, but for partying. And this is kind of why here's the thing. This is why I miss Roosh. He got banned from, was it YouTube? And he gets banned from Twitter, and Stefan Molyneux's gone. I didn't like those guys are, as far as I'm concerned, are kind of seedy. The message is bad. It's really gruff. It's really ugly, but it's kind of comforting to know they're there. Like it's letting you know where are the boundaries for livable society. And these like a dive bar. Every guy needs to have his one dive bar that nobody else would ever go to or never think of seeing him there. And as long as that is there, I know I can be this much of a shitbag and everything's going to be all right. But now it's gone. And all that's left is like Disney theme parks. You're like, okay, so I guess now as a man, the worst I can ever do is be PG-13. It's just that eroding of freedom to a point, and you don't know where it's going to stop.
Well, you know, I mean, our space is being gentrified, isn't it? You know, and people are being, you know, we're seeing the gentrification in terms of, but what gets me is the way that wokeness is affecting free. I don't even want to say freedom of speech really, but like free expression, right? I mean, and the classic example is Bukowski, and probably actually Henry Miller as well. But let's say Bukowski, it would be impossible to be Bukowski in a mainstream sense now.
You don't even have to go that far, though.
But how could you get away with? Who would publish a book like? You know,
you can't even do an '80s movie now. Do you remember Revenge of the Nerds?
Yeah,
it was a great movie. There was a scene where one of the nerds dressed up as Darth Vader slept with the jock's girlfriend, and she thought it was him. Absolutely hilarious. But you look at that now, that would essentially be what Cosby did. Like, I can't even join Police Academy anymore. Bukowski's like so far gone. I don't even know.
But it's just a shame, isn't it? Because, like, you know, here was a guy, and actually, and by the way, this links back to something we were talking about before, because Bukowski actually was a guy who was 50. I mean, he didn't even start really seriously. He didn't give up his job at the post office until he was 50, and then he started writing. And he was basically living on a mattress in some dodgy area in Hollywood, and he had girls queuing around the block, you know, to come over and, you know. So,
and if you guys have ever seen him, he is not a pretty man. His face looks like a caveman in a bowl of oatmeal.
You think
his
he
body? I think he didn't lift anything. He had that standard 70s look with like the big kind of like potato shaped body and the stick arms hanging off of it, like barely above Cro-Magnon Man.
Yeah,
it's such a 70s look.
Yeah. I mean, so I wouldn't recommend that as a life plan, but I think for certain guys, actually being broke and being 50, and, you know, particularly with artistic kind of guys, I think I think that you will still get traction, actually. So I think the wealth thing is a bit of a, it's just a bit of a smokescreen, really. But yeah,
we still have delicious tacos. I mean, he is
Pardon?
as close as we've got to Bukowski right now as tacos.
Yes.
Although he is using a pseudonym, and you don't know what he looks like. So I mean,
well, he's kind of ripped,
point too.
He's pretty ripped, isn't he? If those body shots that he puts up are genuine, which I guess they are.
Oh yeah.
But he says he's quite ugly. He says I'm ugly, but at least I'm ripped. So I don't know.
I think he kind of plays that up a bit because of his audience. He kind of likes. He's got that I like to wallow in my self-pity vibe to him. That's what I kind of like about him. Because then at the same time, his next photo will be a girl with giant tits plugging his book, and I'm like, all right, yeah. I get it. You look like a stack of smashed assholes.
Yeah, I'm sure he's a Chad, really, in real life. But, he hasn't settled down or anything. I mean, he's in his late 40s, isn't he? And he hasn't, so I don't know. But he's a really interesting, he's a great guy. He's a really interesting character.
I do. Really mad he won't do any more podcasts. I would love to have him on, just to have him shoot down, because he's so good at, like you were saying, this space has kind of become gentrified. He has no filter. Like, I thought I gave 0 Fs about this space, but he's really good at it. And I think we need a lot more of those guys that will call out the Lamborghini dream for what it is. Just horse shit. Absolute horse shit. And I'm not afraid to say it.
The Lamborghini dream. Right, here's one. And this is actually a very similar question to one that came up yesterday. Do you think that the red pill promotes being too unemotional, logical in relationships? Did you ask the same question yesterday, Mr. Atrix646, or was it someone else? Very similar to one we had yesterday. But basically, does the red pill promote being unemotional, and you can't become intimate? You can't be non-transactional with women.
Well, who's red pill? That's the thing. This is like Black Lives Matter. There is no red pill authority. The closest you're going to find is Rollo, and 90% of the sphere thinks he's garbage because they want his clout. So, like, what does that even mean? It's decentralized. Yeah. It's a bunch of dudes that got together under the loose banner of try it to see if it works. We're building orreries here. So I don't even like the premise of it.
Yeah, that's correct. My sort of top of the head answer to this is no, I don't think it does promote people being unemotional, logical, because I think that you can learn you can look at the red pill stuff, you can read it, you can kind of internalize it, you can allow it to affect your worldview and everything like that. But I don't think that it means that you have to become this cynical, robotic kind of, the
only thing you have to do is replicate. That's the only must. That's the one cardinal thing about red pill. Try it, see if it works, do it if it works, don't do it if it doesn't, right? Pretty much. Can you? And I think lifting is the only other thing that we could say 100% is a good idea. You
can't complain about lifting. I'm actually lifting underneath the camera as we speak.
You got more logs underneath you. You're a farmer walking.
Yeah,
of
exactly.
All the people I thought they were going to pull a Rambo 4 montage in the woods, you were not on the top of my list. I'm not going to lie.
No, but it was really good because it's in this sort of like I don't know what you call it really, like this urban, like rural area near to where my girl lives over in East London. It's called Hackney Marshes, and it's just this like, and there's the marshes, and there's like this river there, and and it's quite sort of like it's really quite rural, even though it's like in near to central London. And we were walking through, and she said, "Oh, there's this weird gym here." I said, "What do you mean?" And then we passed it, and basically there was that thing that I was doing for the deadlifts, and there were other weights that somebody had just made by tacking like bits of metal to these like sawed up bits of tree trunk.
Oh, I thought that was like, hockey stick.
I don't know what it was, but they like had just attached it to those bits of trunk. So I was like, this is awesome. And I thought this is a great photo opportunity. I have to, getting in touch with my fraternity of men's excellence, going to the forest kind of,
I look forward to seeing your Spartan helmet and axe.
Well, I mean, what I should do is, as part of CAD Academy, I should like do retreats, and we can all go and camp out there, and we can lift weights, and we can dive into the river, and we can sit around the campfire and all that kind of thing. I mean, maybe that's the next
maybe make out a little bit, whatever comes to mind. Yeah, I know Jack Donovan is big on that, and I get it, like for his side of things. But for most guys, I find
he's into the making out as well, isn't he? Though, so
yeah, but that's the thing. For most guys, I find it's just literally like a testicular cancer meeting. You just go somewhere to like, we're men. But it's testicular cancer, so it's guys that lost their balls convincing each other they're men, and it just has that very poignant. Like I wish guys were more self-aware when they suggest this stuff. Like when I see a guy, I'm going to do knuckle push-ups in the snow. That makes me like, dude, we used to make fun of this stuff. What the hell? I can't even put it into words because it's like this weird mix of frustrating autism, take a drink. You know what I mean?
It's a bit caricatured, isn't it?
Yeah.
I mean, I get the point of like, yeah, masculinity, reclaim masculinity and everything, but do you really have to? It just looks like a LARP, doesn't it? You've got the plaid shirt, you've got the beard, you've got the, you're chopping logs in the forest. It's just a bit like, why do you have to revert to this sort of, like 1950s image of it? Why not be masculine, but in a modern way? Why do you have to go to the floor?
Push-ups in the shower is your thing, then own that unapologetically. Like there's who's the Hoff guy? He does the ice baths.
Oh, Wim Hof.
Yeah. He owns it. He's 100% unironically big on that stuff. Good for him. And I don't think people understand that it's not so much that the ice baths are what makes him a man. It's that he's unapologetically carved his space, plopped his flag down there, and dared you to come and try and take it. And I think and then people are missing that, and they're seeing the symbols. It's like going to McDonald's and leaving with a bag with a logo on it going, yeah, I just got McDonald's. Like, you're kind of missing the Happy Meal, dude.
Yeah. I think Jack Donovan is quite an interesting character, though, actually. And I haven't read as much of his stuff as I should have.
Oh, he's awesome, dude.
But I quite like
in Florida.
I heard him on a podcast recently, and he was talking about, I think he's got an essay called the possibilities of violence or something like that. And he's got this quite sort of, I find it interesting, some of the stuff that he talks about.
Mm-hmm. I like it. Like I said, I like it. I like him. It's not for me, but then again, I mean, it's not for me, so that's fine. I'm not the target audience for it. But at the same time, he's been doing it for a decade. Even when we were just like sitting in a hotel room, he'll still have that same like big, thick canvas cargo pant thing. You know those pants he has, the ones that look like you could just weld in them? Like that's his daily wear.
So you met? Oh, of course, you actually met him. So what's he like in real life? Is he a good dude? Is he an engaging guy?
I could have seen myself sailing with him. He's got that same kind of blue collar funniness to him. And I'll tell you a story offline later. I can't tell it on camera because he promised me not to. But plus, it's like got a couple words that you're not supposed to use in good company on YouTube. But it was pretty good.
Okay. Oh, that's
the point. He's like Hoff, where he's not LARPing. That's just his thing. Yeah. He does it and he enjoys it.
That's interesting. Well, I told you I read that book by Bronze Age Pervert. I don't know if you read that. Bronze Age
on the list. I still got to get to it. Yeah,
it's really good. It's really, really good. But people were saying to me that it was there was a similar vibe to Jack Donovan in it, which was this basically like, yeah, men should, lift, sun and steel. He keeps talking about sun and steel, like lift weights in the sunshine, kind of thing. But
is that like a play on blood and soil?
It's no, it's actually not. No. It's actually not because it comes. Right, we're ending the stream. No, it's not because although it comes from a Japanese writer whose name I forget, who I think was actually an extremely right wing guy, but
is that the Five Rings guy?
But the expression "sun and steel" is taken from, I think it's called Mishama or something like that. Who But anyway, it's this idea of this undistilled masculinity. It's like, right, get out, get bare chested, But the great thing about Bronze Age Pervert that I like is, even though he's kind of like a right wing, he's like almost like an alt-right darling kind of guy, which I don't really fully buy into. But what I like about him is he's quite anarchic. His whole thing is not, oh, Trump's awesome. It's like, tear down the system. The whole system is rubbish. Tear it down. And in one part, a couple of times in the book, he talks about red light districts. And he says, I always like to go to red light districts in a new city because it's the only place where you still get a small sense of it being unfiltered. It's not Starbucks. It's not corporate owned. It's like, it's a bit rough. It's a bit raw. And I was like, wow, this guy, there's something kind of like, even though he's a right wing grifter in a way, there's something kind of like really like wild and anarchic about this that I actually quite appreciate.
Well, have you read Way of the Superior Man by what's his name, David Deidre? I think it's pronounced.
Yeah, I have. Yeah.
Is it like compared to Bronze Age stuff to that? What is it like? What's your?
No, because like the Bronze Age Pervert thing, it's for a start, he's a really great writer, and I think he's
better written.
I think
okay.
well, no, but I think he's very influenced by Nietzsche, and so he's a really good writer for a start. The prose is really good. It's a lot more political. You know, I think the David Day book, although I read it a long time ago, and I quite liked it. But I mean, like the David Day stuff from memory is a little bit more hippie-ish, a little bit more like, the vibes and, getting in touch with, her energy and stuff. I mean, it's not full Pat Stedman, but it's a bit more to that side of things.
There's a name I haven't heard in a while.
Yeah, and Bronze Age Pervert is a bit more hard-edged than that, I would say, and it's not a book really about relationships as such. It's much more about, it's more geopolitical probably, if anything. But it's a real. I mean, I highly recommend it. So I really enjoyed it, and I didn't necessarily think that I would, but I thought it was.
I'll have to add it to the list, though.
Yeah, for sure. So listen, guys, we've got a little bit of time left, and then obviously I have to go and get my beauty sleep because it's getting quite late here in the United Kingdom, and Ryan has to go and attend
dinner,
to. Sorry,
I got dinner. I still got to eat. I've been fasting all day by accident. I was just busy like you.
Even content creators have to eat. Yeah, content creator lives matter.
That's very sweet.
Yeah, exactly. But as I've been saying in the chat all the way through, so CAD Academy opens for the Q3 enrollment period basically tomorrow. So it's in a few hours' time. It's in about 5 hours' time it officially opens. However, if you want to enroll and you're watching the stream now, then you can get a 25% discount and you can get early entry. So I've been spamming the link in the chat. I'll put it in again now. Jump on board because you will get a 25% discount. That will run until the end of this show. And then I'll leave it up for a little bit, and after that it'll go. So if you want to join, you want to get in early, and you want to take advantage of that discount, then hit the link that I put into the chat now. So let's just see. Have we got anything else that we want to?
By the way, if you guys when you guys do get on it, do it early, because Troy, you're putting in easily as many, if not more, hours than John when he does BLM. And by the end of it, you're going to look like a sack of sweaty meat. So get in early while he's still fresh.
Exactly. Well, they've still got that vim and that.
I'm still impressed. You work yourself to the bone on that damn thing. Like, it's really impressive.
No, thanks, man. I appreciate that. I mean, look, I just wanted to distill down the stuff that I've learned basically about game and all of this area over the last 15 years, because a lot of it is about the mindsets. There's a lot of mindset stuff in it because obviously it's about charisma, but I also talk about the bad boy thing, the dark triad thing, radical differentiation, standing out from the crowd, as well as a whole very long, very involved section on game techniques as well. But I think the mindset stuff is really important because I always tell the story. I mean, when I went to Manchester,
Oh, did we lose you? Or did you guys lose me? I don't know which. Say something in chat, somebody, so I can tell which one it is. Oh, we're still going on live. Oh, okay, we lost Troy. That's fine. I'll do with Eddie's thing, Hill. We're waiting for him to get back. I don't think you understand. So if you guys don't know, he was talking in the chat about all red pill guys are overly logical and they think life is just transactional. And I'm like, of course it's transactional. And then people with, not you, Eddie, like you're switched on, but other guys with TISM, they assume when you say transactional, they think it means money. So prostitution, which is, again, take a drink, TISM. All that means is that people are attracted to something that's valuable for them. So there's always a transaction. It's just not obvious transaction like that. So in the case of attraction, yeah, some guys try to lead with money. That's a horrible transaction because all you're going to get back from that, how much does a girl value money? Well, enough to maybe give you a kiss on the cheek, but not enough to actually sleep with you. But if you have the ability to like maximize your alpha qualities, or what we would refer to as like making a girl wet, maybe you're a little bit of a bad boy, maybe you're a lot of fun, super adventurous, maybe you're super high status and she just wants it as a flex. The attention of a high value man is a currency of its own. And so that's still transactional. But a lot of guys are like, well, that's not supposed to be attraction. That's supposed to be genuine desire. I'm like, yeah, don't. If you don't treat it as transaction, it means you don't treat these things as they have economic value or sexual value. And if you don't value it, what the hell chance is somebody else going to value it? And if you don't value it, you're not going to make sure that you're getting what it's worth. And that's where boundaries come in. So for example, let's say I'm the greatest guy in the world. Girl walks up to me and I start simping on her because I don't value that my attention as that top tier guy. Obviously, she's going to have this, like a girl will have this image in her head, as does anybody. When you see something and people are going to try and give it for you for free, you generally are more suspicious of the product than if they attached a super high price to it and then gave it to you on sale. And even on sale, all sales are overprice something and then charge what you were going to charge anyway, call it a sale. People think they pulled a fast one on you. Like, it's all about the perception of value. So it's transactional. Life's always transactional. You can be the beta bucks that's leading with your money, and you may get a wife at 30 who doesn't really want to sleep with you unless she wants to have a baby. Or you can be the guy that makes a girl tingle. You know, money, have money, don't have money. That doesn't matter. You just don't lead with that. That's not your value proposition. And then she's like, this is the hottest guy I've ever met. This is the most fun guy I've ever met. This is the sexiest man I've ever met. He does not care about me, and I have to fight for his attention. That's valuable. And then you, on return, you ask like top tier prices. Like, look, I don't want no friend zoning. I don't want simping. I don't want, oh, I only do missionary, or I won't do what I used to do because what we have now is special. None of that. And so it's still transactional. You just got to pick the currency you want to work with and then charge an adequate price for it. And that's basically where it's going. I know he's in London with his things there. So hopefully that helps articulate that one, Eddie. But yeah, and your one here, if a girl was hot, she wouldn't have to spin plates to keep guys interested. Why should we have to? I don't know. Girls don't have to do a lot of things. I don't know if doing what girls can do is the pinnacle of what I would decide for my life. I think that seems to set a very low barrier. And it seems almost juvenile. Like, picture, yeah, don't do that. Well, but you let the sister do it yesterday. Like, that's that same vibe we're talking about. Like children arguing with mom. Well, she gets to do it. Like, well, yeah, who cares what she gets to do? You worry about you. And yeah, unfortunately, or fortunately, depending how you look at it, I think fortunately, because I like the process. Yeah, we have to chase girls. We have to show interest. We have to put in more effort. They just have to look pretty and smile and be nice. What would you rather have? Would you rather have a life that everything is just handed to you and then you get to live the life you're given? Or would you like to have some control over your life with the condition being you hunt and you kill, or you eat what you kill? I would rather have that, a poor life of hunting, as opposed to a nice life in a gilded cage that I had no control over. And that kind of goes to back to our little mental part between me and Troy, when you talk about the mentality of it. Do you prefer freedom or safety? And that's the ultimate question. Most guys, when you think of power, it means safety. Or freedom. When girls talk about power, that means control. And there's this, and the way that manifests in all your different areas in life makes it abundantly clear that guys treat freedom as sacrosanct. And this means the freedom to, I pick which girls I'm going after. I may not get all of them, but it's my choice. As opposed to a girl, I only get hit on by the guys that hit on me. And that's my options. I think that's a horrible way to live. So yeah, and I know what you're saying. I'm not shitting on you. You're a perfectly good guy. But at the same time, do you really want to live a life where it's just kind of handed to you, but you have no say in what happens from it? I wouldn't. And if you do, fill your boots. I would just say for everybody else, Troy's course is there. He's going to throw the link up again. And I would say go for it. It's worth your time and energy. And if you're willing to devote to that, you're at least willing to devote some time to pitting on a couple Stacey's in central London out on the street. And who knows, maybe even ask them to hold it for you while you shake.
Absolutely. That is definitely, I'm going to add a module to the course, I think, on that very thing. But thanks for taking over there, Ryan. Apologies for that. The internet in London is obviously archaic. One day we'll catch up with you guys in the United States, but Canada and the United States. But yeah, listen, having now finally scrambled to get back into the show, let us start to wrap things up, because I know that you've got to get going, Ryan, and have something to eat. I've got to get some beauty sleep, as I said. So look, guys, like I was saying before, Cat Academy opens in a few hours' time, but you can get in early. I've been putting the link into the chat. If you click that link, that with that coupon code livestream offer, then that will take you straight through and you can get a 25% discount off the cost of the course. Okay, it's a 10-hour video product with me going into real detail about how you can utilize charisma in order to have a vastly improved dating life in order to really become one of those natural guys who just kind of gets it. It just clicks into place, and it gives you all of the game tactics and techniques that you need. We've got 10 live webinar sessions coming up after the enrollment period closes. And you will be invited to all of those. We'll be bringing guys in. Hopefully, Ryan can come along. Last time we had John, Life Dating was in there. Myron Gaines, like loads of guys. So we're going to get some cool people in there, and we're going to really drill you in terms of just getting the best out of your dating and being, successful in this area.
Can I plug your course just shortly here?
Please do, man. Please do.
There is only 2 people that I know of doing online courses that add that additional like one-on-one workshop on the end of it. Most people, I've done a few myself. Christian McQueen, if you guys remember his, they just give you a list of modules. You watch the videos and then you do what they say. You'll maybe get like a booklet with it or a PDF. That's fine. Did you guys know that for online courses, the rate of completion at best is 12%? That means 12% of people who buy courses finish the courses. Assuming all the courses are good, and not all of them are, that means 80% of people that sign up for this are throwing their money away. Now, the thing we found out from Troy's course, doing those webinars, is that rate is upped like 60, 80%. I think we're shooting for 100 this time, which is going to be awesome. So at the very least, you could be starting from zero. Like the guy, was it AJ or AK? Sorry, I should be better with memory than this, but you're talking about you don't even know where to start. You're losing interest in that. You're that exact kind of person that would have been in that 80% of guys who didn't finish it. But because he's literally walking you through it as a person, one-on-one, that personal investment, he's actually giving you the best foot forward to actually complete the course, to start getting your charisma going, to become more successful with girls. And once you get that sex problem out the way, then you can build your legacy afterwards. It's like food. Once you're not hungry anymore, then you can focus on the next big thing. So I think it's an awesome stepping stone to a holistic life. And I would love it if at some point, all you guys in the chat who are signing up for it will get to that point where we get to joke around about what's better, Phuket or Germany. And we're like, whatever. And have these nice degenerate stories. And come there, guys. I had to do 12 years in the military to do that. You can get that from one course. I'm just saying it's a much better time investment. All right, I'm done fluffing you now. It's all true, but I am fluffing
you. No, thank you ever so much for that. Those are wise words indeed, and I really appreciate that. So listen, guys, I'm really looking forward to welcoming all of you guys into the course. So as I say, do click the link. Do jump on board. You get 25% off today because you're watching the stream. I will be removing that at some point a little bit later after this stream finishes. So do jump on board if that's something that you're interested in doing. Beyond that, Ryan, what are you up to at the moment? What have you got going on that you want to tell the guys about?
We are all busy. So I've actually started on a Twitch right now. It's like the scratch pad. Like this stuff on YouTube is all fairly polished, but the stuff there, it's raw, it's unfiltered. Yeah, I'm just goofing around playing games or sometimes having a chit chat, but the guys are really loving it. It's twitch.tv, Ryan Stone RP, all one word. At the same time, I just finished episode like 30 of the Sidebar series. So over the past month, a lot of guys are like, red pill is this, red pill is that, but nobody really knows what that means. So I've gone through every piece from the married red pill or the red pill sidebars, as well as we're going to be expanding on it. Basically every notable piece of red pilled content out there. So the idea is everybody's on the same page. We all know First Year Royce. We all know Rollo's work. We're all going to know Manipulated Man. We're all going to know No More Mr. Nice Guy or When I Say No, I Feel Guilty. So I finished 3 right now. There's 9-hour module of When I Say No, I Feel Guilty. This is all just on my YouTube channel. And that's where we go over nice guy behaviors, risk aversion, how horrible parenting strategies have set you up for failure in your adult life. Basically going from negative to 0 to where stuff like Troy stuff can take you from 0 to like 1 or 2 or whatever number. Then When I Say No, I Feel Guilty, which shows guys how to be assertive properly. For a lot of people that have been fairly passive their whole lives, it's good value on that one. Again, bringing you from negative to 0. And then we just did Esther Villar's The Manipulated Man. So for a lot of guys, you're finding out like that very attractive, the MGTOW talking points, women is bad, this and that. Turns out it all came from a second wave feminist in the 1930s that wrote a book in the 1970s, and they have all the same talking points 50 years later, 0 progress made. So it lets guys know, okay, some of these grievances are real, but they've been around forever. And none of these, no offense to them, none of the MGTOW guys are solving problems. They're just complaining about it. So it lets you know the terrain so you can start applying. Okay, so what do I do about it? It's a great series. It's going to be about a year till the whole thing's done. And to be honest, right now, there's like 30 hours in it already. So it's more content you can shake a stick at. But do it in between the webinars on Troy's thing. Definitely worth your time.
I mean, yeah, and fluffing you just a little bit. I mean, that is it's an amazing bit of work that you're doing here with this stuff. And I mean, that content really, you could and probably should be charging for this, because I mean, it's such a deep dive into these texts. And I mean, this is the stuff that guys really need to know. I mean, this is the foundation.
You and John do the courses thing. I'll just sell just buy the book. We'll call it even.
Buy the book. Fuck files. Get fuck files.
I still have a couple copies on my shelf here. I know I'm gonna have to give a signed copy out again. I already owe one to Patreon, so there's one more left. If one of you guys comes highly recommended from Troy, I'll throw it in.
Absolutely. So listen, if you're interested in that, then give me a shout and I'll pass your name on to Ryan. But and it's a great book as well, so you really should check it out. Fuck Files on Amazon, guys. Ryan Stone. Fantastic book. Lots of naughty stories in there for sure. All right, listen, let's cut it now. Thank you so much, Ryan, for coming along. It's been an awesome show. Great, as always. Obviously, we'll be around on Saturday for Rule Zero, which is on Rich Cooper's channel, I think, isn't it?
Oh, yes, it is. Big announcement. Big announcement.
We So
I don't know how to do the alarm thing.
yeah. So make sure that you tune into that 11:30 a.m. EST. As I said, sign up for Charisma and Dating Academy now. You get a 25% discount on the link in the chat and in the description to this video. And that's it. We will see you guys again very soon. Bye-bye.
I love you guys. Fucking pinnacle of man.